Martin Hayes, welcome to Australian Musician.
Thank you, Greg. Delighted to be here.
Um, Going way back, you were raised in a musical family in East County Clare, Ireland. Um, do you think you would be who you are if you weren't brought up in that environment?
I don't think so, no. I mean, I wouldn't be doing what I do for sure. And yeah, no, everything to do with that. I even sometimes think like I grew up in a kind of a musical environment, so I learned music environmentally. So like a good test of that would be like, how I responded to school and education, which was, I got through it fine, but I was less than enthusiastic for it, and like I didn't develop strong passions for things in school. But music was outside of school for me, and I really connected with it. So one of the things I often think is like I regret not having a full theoretical musical education, on one level. On the other hand, I realize if I probably went in for that, I probably wouldn't have persevered. I liked the independence and the freedom of the life I had, where I could, you know, learn music completely on my, according to my desires and wishes and according to what I wanted to learn and like so everything was self-driven. Nobody was telling me how to play anything.
Yeah.
So
So,
I liked that freedom.
yeah, if you'd paid more attention to the theory, do you think you'd be a different player?
I think so. I mean, I think in music there's a battle that goes on in all musicians between the intellect, our reasoning, understanding, intellectual understanding of how we do, and then the kind of more subjective and non-tangible personal realities like of allowing music to flow through you, the physicality of it, the emotion of it, the kind of the zen of it, if you want to speak about it in a certain way, that like how you perform, how what you become when you try to play, and who you become. Those are all, like, those are in tension with like our need to control facts and our need to intellectually understand and dominate every aspect of the activities we pursue, whether it's music or anything else. But in music, that there's a strong tension between those, I think, those drives.
Yeah. Well, what do you think traditional music can teach the modern world?
Well, I think one of the things I notice about like folk musics around the world, I would say not maybe folk music isn't even the best description, like indigenous music forms, throughout the world have this relationship to everyday life. They have a relationship to nature. They have a relationship to a common sense understanding of life. It's not a music form that's intellectually out of reach, or that's so there's a kind of that there's a common sense in it, in that sense, like that it's accessibly available to anybody, and there's a kind of earthiness, groundedness to it. This sense that it's reliably human and reliably natural and of nature.
Yeah, you mentioned the word indigenous.
Yeah.
Last time we spoke, you said that when you come to Australia, which you are in February with Kyle Sanna, that you feel an ancient culture and you would like to explore Australian Indigenous music more. Can you expand on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, the first time I went to Australia, and I landed there, I thought like, oh, what's the big deal? I don't see what's I felt like like I landed in Sydney. I go, have I landed in a sunny Toronto or something? It's like I wasn't. I was there a little while before the underlying reality kind of seeps into your subconscious, before you kind of become aware of, and there's a kind of a feeling and a kind of a accompanying awareness in my time when I was there, was like, oh, there's this deep Aboriginal culture, and it's very close. It's not far away. It's not from another time, and it's actually still here, you know. And I remember like feeling that like on the surface I thought Australia looked like Canada, but then I go, oh, there's something quite like profoundly different. And it would kind of, by the time every time I would leave Australia, I would like have this feel like I had connected with it. And now in no sense whatsoever do I have any connection with Aboriginal culture in the common understanding of that. Like, it's not like I know the culture. It's not like I know Aboriginal peoples or anything like that. I don't. But there's something there in the same way that, to be honest, like when I'm in Connemara or the west of Ireland or out on the Aran Islands, I connect with some deeper soul that's in the place, in the country, and in that reality. So maybe as musicians, we're kind of sensitive to that in some abstract way, you know.
Yeah. As I said, you're here in February with Kyle Sanna. What will your repertoire mainly consist of?
Well, I think the repertoire will build out of the album that we worked on together in the band, the Common Ground Ensemble, and the album is called Peggy's Dream. And I think that will be the base of operation. But I'm quite sure that like it will adapt and develop and new things will happen. And that's what I expect and that's what I want. That by the time we're leaving Australia, that it should be a significantly different set of music, you know.
Yeah. What is it about the musical chemistry between you and Kyle that you enjoy?
Um, well, one is he's a great improviser, and he has a very good working knowledge of jazz, and he also works as a kind of a contemporary avant-garde kind of experimentalist musician, and he also like has good strong knowledge of classical music. He's well able to write for orchestra and do all of those things. And oddly enough, he played in a duet in New York with a fiddle player by the name of Dana Lynn, and the two of them kind of were like a bit like I gotta say a bit like Dennis Cahill and Martin Hayes kind of a thing. And so he has that knowledge too. And so I love, getting to work with somebody that has so many things they can bring to the table, that I find that very exciting, you know.
Yeah. Just last week, I saw Bill Frisell perform as part of the Melbourne Jazz Festival. I didn't get to say hello uh,
Yeah, yeah.
for you, but he's a very quirky musician. How did you find working with him?
Well, it was an education. I remember like having this tour in Ireland many years ago with Bill, Dennis Cahill, and myself and Bill were to do this tour. And we started out by, well, let's lock ourselves away in a house for a few days and just kind of like rehearse and get familiar. Like I had a sense of rehearsing, which is that we're developing arrangements and we're developing a kind of a plan like for the concerts, you know. And Bill was just having fun. And so the second day we sit down to do this, I think we're building on yesterday, but we weren't. It was a blank slate. And the third day, it was the same. So I realized I was getting no closer to my goal of having a plan for the gig than I was the first day. And then the kind of penny dropped to go, this is the way it's going to be. It's going to be like a free flow, free form. We'll figure out when the piece of music is finished, and we won't be sure how long somebody's going to improvise for or not, or what will happen. And it was an education, and it was wonderful, and it was a good experience to get with such a for me to work with such a credible jazz musician as Bill, you know.
Yeah. What's your goal every time you take to the stage?
That it should be the best time I ever played in my entire life. That's like that's my goal. Like that like this is it. I'm gonna finally crack it, and what my goal would be to that every single note of music in a night like would be just like a transcendent dream, like that that it would be just like euphorically joyful, I, no, that doesn't happen. But moments do. and I'd be disappointed if there was any evening of music where at least we didn't touch on that. Like, the goal is to get there somehow.
Yeah. What do you like to do in the half hour before you hit the stage?
Oh, I wish I had a plan. I don't. It's just kind of like, I'm, well, I clean the fiddle strings, I tune the fiddle, I sound the fiddle, I look at the set list, I kind of walk around a bit, and that's it.
Yeah. Are there any nerves involved after all these years?
Yeah, yeah. I remember after the pandemic, I came back and I experienced kind of stage fright, which was something I'd never had before. Like since like I never had it, never. Even as a young teenager, I was just give me the stage and the fiddle. I'm quite happy. But I had lost like in the years of not performing during the pandemic, I had lost some connection with that place. And it had been a slow reconnecting with that, in a way.
Yeah. When you look back at your career, what are the significant memories that immediately come to mind?
I know, I mean, like from a PR point of view, I could just single out like high moments. The truth is, it's all just a blur of music. It's like kind of because the truth is like I can enjoy a small gig with 100 people. I can enjoy a big gig with 3,000 people. I can enjoy a solo night. I can enjoy a night in the bed in the band. I don't know. It's like there isn't a high point really. There's just a kind of it'd be like if you went for a swim every day, you'd be like, which was your favorite swim? I don't know. I like to swim, and definitely some days are better than others. And and there are some glorious moments that one has. It's a bit like meditation, for example. Like people meditate, and it can be a kind of a laborious process, of getting nowhere. And every now and again, you just kind of dip into another reality. And music is a bit like that. I kind of can't really. I mean, like there were times like playing for Barack Obama, and there were like I think the first time I played in the Sydney Opera House. I think moments like that are quite large in your imagination. Like and you go, when you're doing things like that, you realize you've kind of it's a special occasion. But special occasions are different things than musical high points. And they happen all the time, everywhere, anywhere, in unpredictable circumstances.
Mm. Yeah. Tell me about the story behind the instrument that you tour with.
The fiddle I picked it up in Chicago, I'd say 20 years ago, I think, probably. Um, I had gone through a bit of a kind of like I had grown up with one fiddle now, which I made many of my earlier recordings with, which was the fiddle that my father gave me when I was like 12 or 13, and it was his fiddle. But it was a good enough fiddle, but I had to work hard to make the sound I wanted, and I knew that there was probably an easier fiddle out there for me. But I went and got a fella up in Portland, Maine, to make a fiddle, and you know the way like if something has a deficiency, you're going to buy something that corrects that deficiency. But I overshot the mark. Like I went for something that was so different that it was unbalanced in the opposite direction of the first fiddle. In other words, the first fiddle was too bright, the second fiddle was too warm. Okay, then I got a fiddle in between that seemed to be very good. I bought it in Nashville, except one thing seemed to keep happening. It would respond to humidity differently. Like, so if I went between dry and humid places and I travel all over the world, I was going, oh, one day it's a magnificent fiddle, the next day it was useless. So I was starting to kind of suffer psychologically from this. And then I was visiting Dennis in Chicago, and he was going to visit his sister. I didn't want to go visit the sister. So he said, "There's a violin stop here. I'll just drop you off, and you can mull around for a few hours," which is something we would like to do. And I went in there and the guy handed me this fiddle and I played it and I go, oh, I love this. And then I kept thinking, now, if you love this fiddle, what are you going to feel like tomorrow morning when you wake up? You have no choice but to buy it. But you know what I said to him? I said, look, I don't know what you're charging for this fiddle. I don't know. Would you swap this fiddle, this other fiddle with me? And he goes, yeah. So I ended up with this fiddle and I never even knew the price of it. And I just swapped it and walked out the door and that was it. And I've been playing it ever since.
Yeah, it's a bit of a Frankenstein, I believe. It's a different neck.
Yeah, in well, that's common enough actually, like to change out the neck. But like you would, it's kind of a neck graft. Like you can change the neck, but you would keep the scroll. And like the scroll is a valuable part of the identity of an instrument. However, my fiddle doesn't have a clear identity. Appraisers have not been able to determine exactly what it is or who made it. So there you go. But it doesn't matter if it sounds good, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Peggy's Dream was your last recording that I know of. Where are you at with new recordings?
Uh, I'm going to record Peggy's Dream again, but with the National Symphony Orchestra. And on that occasion, like we made a very different version of the album. We did it live a few times. Um, and it's where Kyle, for example, wrote for orchestra. He just wrote an orchestral version of the music. So the band are not involved. It's just me with the orchestra and like so Kyle, one of the members of the band, like wrote that. He's the guy that will be on tour with me. Kate Ellis, the cellist from the band, also wrote about a third of it. And Cormac McCarthy, the pianist, also wrote about it. So I'm fortunate in the musicians I work with in the band that three of them are capable of composing and writing for orchestra and doing so not doing so very well and very competently. Like they are very, very accomplished musicians, writers, and arrangers. So I'm very lucky with the musicians I get to work with.
Yeah.
So
Um,
that would be the next recording. That's right. Short, the,
yeah,
the answer
yeah.
that
What's your
will do.
secret to achieving a great sound, a great fiddle sound in the studio?
Well, one of the things that is important, I think, is to play without headphones in the studio. Like, no, you could maybe put one cap on one ear if you want to hear other musicians or something. But I think like having an acoustic relationship with your instrument is important in the studio. I like to use ribbon microphones if possible. I like to use, tube or valve preamps, as we would call them. Um, I like a bit of warmth in the sound and I like the room to feel nice acoustically and visually if possible, those are the things I would look out for when I go into a recording.
Yeah. Has traveling the world changed your understanding of Irishness or the traditional Irish music's role in the world?
Well, I suppose, I mean, I've lived outside of Ireland almost all my life, or most of my adult life. Yeah, I suppose, being outside it and existing in other cultural environments, it allows you to put it in perspective. I mean, I suppose when you live in Ireland, it's easy to gradually slip into the notion of like Irish reality, like an Irish culture, like being the thing, being everything. But when you're outside of it, you can see it, as just one part of the tapestry, like of this planet, like culturally. And maybe I can, in a sense, see where it fits in and maybe be a bit more objective about it because I don't live there.
Yeah. Um, you play a lot of traditional music. What's your approach to reinterpreting traditional Irish tunes?
Yeah, well, like first my feeling is that it's an evolving process. Like tradition is just simply not a set thing, and there is an inclination and a tendency to view it or regard it as kind of a fixed entity, with a fixed way of playing. But like the evidence of that, it just isn't there. I can hear it, like the change right through the 20th century, right up to now, you know. Also, even among the old traditional players, it was very common for old players to develop what they would call their setting of a tune. In other words, they would change the tune, make a variation to it, make a twist to it, develop it, you know. And like, and of course, the intention, of course, is to improve and enhance in some way. And so I took that kind of notion of the freedom to create a version of a tune, and I kind of wanted to push it up into kind of real time, like improvisation, that I could take that idea and make it an improvisational model as well, so that, you know, in the course of a performance, I could feel the freedom to change, evolve, develop, and find new things in a melody. I mean, one doesn't always find new things, but you're always existing in that possibility that you may, and very often you do. And a necessary part of that sometimes is having a good musical dialogue with other musicians on the stage, which again is one of the things that I enjoy about working with Kyle, is the feeling that he will stimulate one's imagination, and you will respond in a certain way and find new things, you know. So that's kind of how I engage with it. I feel that it is important that it be a kind of a free enough music form that allows for a good measure of creativity to become part of the process, you know.
Yeah. Are you in a position to play a piece? Do you have your instrument with you? Or?
I do, I do. 1 second now. I'm in a position to play. Have I thought what to play? No. uh, Yeah, that was a tune called "The Wheels of the World." I didn't really know what does that even mean, but anyway, it's that was the title of the tune.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So, what are you most looking forward to about the upcoming Australian tour?
Well, I'm looking forward to kind of like getting to cross Australia and experience it again. You know, just to kind of like, get a good feel of it and have enough time to be there, which I haven't done in a long time. And of course, the big thing is I'm just looking forward to playing with Kyle, and looking forward to just seeing what that produces for us, you know.
Yeah. Well, Martin, it's been an absolute pleasure, and we look forward to seeing you very soon.
All right, Greg, thank you very much. Okay.